I'll talk about one of the campaigns that we did, which was an influencer-led campaign, and that by the technical definition of viral went viral. We launched it with these Abhi and New as the marquee influencers, and then within 24 hours, we had an army of about 250, 300 micro influencers who pushed their own individual content. But in those 24 hours, and we saw people organically creating and pushing their content. And then you had your mailbox flooded with emails and stuff like that. Saiyaara has released, right? And you see crazy reactions in theaters, and I'm sure it's moved Gen Z or whatever the target audience is. But it's tough to really believe everything is organic, right? So for you to really break through that clutter, you will need a combination of a Taran Adarsh also, putting out something in support of that movie. And then you have these smaller handles pushing out content. And this is in no way taking away from the fact that it might be a very good movie and some of the reactions will be organic. So I think any good ad has two components. Why and how. So why is clarity. It is your biggest USP. Why should I buy your product? The second is how, which is the creative side of it. How do I tell you my why? We have a surgeon who is out of time. So because he's always occupied with surgeries, right? So we shot him on one Sunday, and we shot him for about 4 to 5 hours. And now an AI clone of his is doing content creation. How does fear work? How do I make Karan take an action right now? Your end of season sales and big billion days and all of that. It's basically a combination of two things. One is I tell you, here is something exclusive. And second is I say this is limited. When I say exclusive and urgent, that will make you take an action. More than Instagram, more than Facebook, more than YouTube. This is one tool that really everyone uses, whether you're in Mumbai or you're in a small town somewhere near Kolkata. Everyone uses WhatsApp, at least in India. So it has tremendous penetration. So for any kind of business, an online first business, a retail business, any kind of business has a lot of benefits through WhatsApp. You really want to look at real engagement and real followers. So now you have a lot of tools for that. So I think the metric to look at more than followers is on their last 10 reels. How many views have they managed to generate? According to one of the statements of Mark Zuckerberg, these platforms in time to come, Facebook, Instagram and the likes, will be able to tell you what kind of ads you need to create for best results. So that's going to be the death of a graphic designer creating performance marketing ads.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Level Up podcast. Our guest today is Mr. Hetansh Desai. He's the founder of Vital 20 Communications. He's an award-winning entrepreneur and an advertising expert who's handled digital marketing for powerhouses like Vodafone, SBI, Bank of Baroda, Indiabulls, among various others. He's helmed many national campaigns and viral campaigns across the nation in his 8+ years in advertising. In this episode, we decode the secrets behind viral Instagram ads, WhatsApp marketing, cost-effective influencer marketing, and using AI tools to build strong and loyal brands. If you're trying to grow your business in today's digital world, make sure that you watch till the end because this is an episode that you don't want to miss. Hi Hetansh, such a pleasure to have you on the show, and I'm really excited for today's episode because today we'll definitely figure out how to make the perfect ad campaign. But before we do that, I wanted us to really understand what are some common mistakes that a lot of small businesses and brands are making.
First of all, Karan, thanks for having me here. Equally excited for this. I think one of the main mistakes that brands make is they do not understand the term marketing. I think a very common confusion is that when I say marketing, people perceive it to be something that you need to do to reach out to your customers, right? That's a very common notion people have. But marketing actually begins with the offering, with your product, with what it is that you're intending to sell to someone, right? So the first question that any brand owner needs to ask himself or herself is my offering the best on earth? Now, not all offerings will ever be the best on earth, but if you ask yourself that question, at least there will be an attempt to really make it good. You could do that, in fact, using 3 or 4 different ways. So one is obviously you say, okay, can you invent something new? Can you make a chat GPT or an AI tool, right? So that's one way to do it. The second way to do it is, do you can you do something that could give you a first mover's advantage? So one of our clients, I think a couple of years back, had started India's first AI powered EMBA curriculum. So that's one way. The third way is, and which is something that a lot of businesses can do, is to find a niche and operate within that, and say, okay, you know what, in this niche no one will be able to beat me, my offering will really stand out. And the fourth way is to give something at a ridiculous price, something that Geo did back in, I think, 2015-16. So I think the biggest mistake that brands are making is that they are not asking themselves this question, and with an offering that they have, they are trying to now spend a lot in acquiring a certain share of the market. Whereas if they invest that back into their offering, the offering would in itself be so good that you would have to cut down spends at other places.
No, absolutely. I think you've set the fundamentals right for a lot of young entrepreneurs. And, now that we've understood the basic mistake that a lot of people are making, let's get to now understanding how we can actually create the perfect ad campaign. But I think the first step has to be understanding the consumer, right? And especially India is such a broad and vast country with all diverse kinds of people. But a broad understanding can also really help young entrepreneurs understand how to create campaigns. So can you give us an insight into what tier 1 customers are like and how tier 2 and tier 3 customers are different when it comes to the Indian market?
Right. I think the one thing that we need to know before we go into that is how is India as a country, right? Because then that'll what will be reflected in the consumers as well. So if you, let's say, talk about US, let's take a very simple example of a road. Okay, a car is moving through a road in the US and in India. And let's say you stop at a signal or at a crossroad, and you've got one more car coming from the side or coming right, in straight in front of you. In the US, when you flash the headlights, it means I'm inviting you to go first. When you flash headlights in India, it means you wait, I'll go first. The reason is not because in India people don't want to be respectful, but if I let the other car go, it'll mean 2 more cars will go right behind that one, and I'll have to be stuck in a jam for like 5 minutes or so. So the basic fundamental is that when resources are less and people are more, people seek more value. Versus when you have more resources and less people, you're a little okay with how things are. Correct. So in India, I think the fundamental thing that any business needs to know is that people are constantly seeking value. And you will find customers who are willing to give you an advance if, let's say, you're in a B2B business. And at the same time, people might not also be willing to make a payment. That's how they perceive value. The second thing is Indians are extremely emotional, right? So if I'm going to be rude to you, if I'm going to be a little direct with you versus if I'm going to be a little more amicable, a little more friendlier, then I'm bound to change your behavior more. So I think, and this is something that's pretty consistent across different places in India. I think people will seek value and people are going to be emotional. One example that I'd like to give to you is, I would not like to name the brand, but a real estate client of ours who was very excited with one of the pitches that we'd done to them, actually told us that we've not made the payment to the last vendor, but we are willing to give you an advance. So now these are two ends of the spectrum, right? While I am not, for the same service, I don't want to make a payment somewhere, and I'm also willing to give you an advance, which means if I don't see value in you, I will not wait before I just cut you out. And when I see value in you, I am going to be so emotionally driven that I think you have some magic that will turn my business around. Your product. So whenever, even if I'm buying a 10 rupee toothbrush, that's really going to clean my teeth like nothing else will, right? So I'm expecting that level of value, I'm expecting that level of magic, and I'm really emotionally invested in whatever it is that I'm going to buy. If it doesn't sort of deliver, then the opposite reaction is also true, right? So that's how a normal Indian consumer is, and they will. So in fact, India is the only place where we really worship some of our sporting and film icons, right? Not at a lot of other places will you find this to be common. That again gives you an insight into how India is. That when I really like someone, if I like a Virat Kohli, I'm going to really think of him as my god, right? And if I don't like someone, the opposite is also true. So that also translates for brands. If I'm going to find a problem, and if it's going to blow up, then people will suddenly right away boycott. They're not going to give you a second chance as well. So you have to be very careful with an Indian consumer.
No, absolutely. And these things also wonderfully highlight why getting a big celebrity on board works, and why not just giving information but having an emotional twist to your advertisement can really work.
Right.
So rightly pointed out. Let's take an example of a small business, and what is an ideal online budget that they should have for 1 month?
Are we looking at an online first brand or
online first brand?
Online first brand. So it does depend on what the objective is. Where are you in your journey as a brand? Have you just started? But I think the way I can actually answer this is there are 4 elements that you need to think of whether you have 100 rupees or you have 1 crore. You can do only one of these 4. One, and I call this the bar, but that's got 2 R's. So one is branding, second is acquisition, third is retention, and fourth is referrals. So anything that you do is going to be for either of these. So by branding, what I mean is, how do you create more awareness? You want to take the brand ahead, you want more people to know about it, you want to spread more awareness and get more engagements online. Then you've got acquisition, where a lot of people are very aggressive, and that normally occupies the highest chunk of your marketing budget. But again, it should depend on brand and where they are in their journey, but that's acquisition. I want new sales. The third is, if you've bought from me once, I want you to buy from me again and again. If my nature of business is such, if I'm, let's say, in education, then that wouldn't stand true. But for normal businesses, I want you to buy from me again and again. And fourth is, and that's when the entire loop closes, is when you give me a referral. When you've had a good experience, you refer my product to someone, right? So normally it'll be one of the 4, right? Now, I would think that if you're talking about a reasonably established brand that, let's say, has been in business for a couple of years, I would expect them to at least spend somewhere in the range of, let's say, 25 to 50 lakh. All of these 4 put together. And I would assume that in the initial phases, a higher chunk will be towards B and A, which is branding and acquisition. As you establish yourself a little more, as you have a certain flow of consumers going in, then you would shift towards retention and referrals. But normally that will be the flow of marketing for any brand.
But would this be their monthly budget or their annual budget?
No, I'm saying the bare minimum annual budget that a brand needs to have should be in that range. Now again, a lot of assumptions here, assuming that they've been in the business for a couple of years, assuming that they've made their initial funnel, assuming that they have a certain marketing armory, and assuming that you have a long vision as well.
So, for ease of understanding, let's take it as 100 rupees for 100%. And if someone has that budget, what is the ideal way to allocate that budget into different streams when it comes to online marketing to use that money in the smartest way possible?
Right. So again, if you break branding or awareness down, right? So you have social media, you have influencers, you might want to buy reviews, let's say, if you're in that category. If it's just 2 years down the line, and if I have, let's say, 100 rupees, I might want to spend 40, 10 and 10. So I want to spend 40 in getting my brand out there. I would want to spend 40 in acquisition, primarily in performance marketing, and then 10 to retain you, and then 10 to for you to give me a referral, right? Now within branding, depending on the nature of your business, but let's say you're selling something, let's say you're in the apparel industry, right? Then I would assume that obviously social media is going to eat up a good amount of that 40. I think a content agency is also going to eat up some amount of that, because I think these days brands can really grow with content, right? So really raw content that you could have influencers coming and shooting and then posting on their platform, on their Insta. And then I think a little bit on Google, just to ensure that you're appearing on your search, on your brand search. So I think this would compromise. So I think out of that 40, I would think about 20 could go towards social media and spreading awareness through a variety of campaigns. I think another 10-15 towards building content, and the other 5 towards other sort of activities. Performance marketing really depends. Let's say if I'm in apparel, I primarily have Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, all of these aggregators, and then I would have my own website. So then I would spend on Meta and I would spend on Google. Now the catch will be, again, specific for apparel, is when you're doing it on your own website. So when you're running Meta and Google campaigns, you might have a lot of returns. So that's a cost you need to factor in. On aggregators, it's the cost of these platforms that you will have to factor in, right? So, but I think broadly these would be the areas where you could spend. And then retention is something I would spend, let's say, on WhatsApp, on platforms where you and I might be more directly connected. So maybe SMS, WhatsApp, email, some of these are the platforms where, it could be regular communication. And then referral is, I encourage you to maybe give you a discount and give your friend a discount, so that, I get one more additional customer. So I think that referral piece, that 10% or that 10 rupees could just be towards discounts. So I think this is probably how you could have a mix of social content, Google, Meta, aggregators, email, WhatsApp, and normal strategy should have a mix of it all, ideally.
No, this is really interesting, and I'd like to get deeper into each one of these. Let's first understand, when someone's creating an ad, we are all constantly bombarded by a lot of ads. How do you create an ad that actually stands out and is memorable for the customer?
So I think any good ad has two components: why and how. So why is clarity. It is your biggest USP. Why should I buy your product? If an ad doesn't communicate this, there is no reason for me to come and buy your product, right? The second is how, which is the creative side of it. How do I tell you my why? So when you look at good ads, whether they are TVCs, whether they are, let's say, Meta ads, whatever, on whatever platform those ads are run, they will always marry clarity with creativity, or why and how. That's when I will tell you why you should buy in a way that you also engage me. Okay. So let's look at some historically proven ads, right? So one of the most successful campaigns from Vodafone was the Zuzu's campaign, right? Now, if you recollect, each one of that Zuzu campaign ad had a very clear USP. Whether it was the network that is available at odd places, whether those were value added services, whether that was chota recharge. So you didn't have an ad that did not communicate the why. At the same time, Zuzu's as characters were very creative, were very cute. They really engaged you and me, right? Let's look at some other ads. Let's look at those historic campaigns of Fevicol. You would still remember that Fevikwik ad where you've got that gentleman putting those drops and he would. So it's very creative that someone who's been fishing for an hour doesn't get what he wants, but Fevikwik ka jod. So you have the USP also, and it's done very creatively. You and I in this beautiful world from Hutch. You are engaged and you're with that little girl and the pug, right? And then in the end, you just have that one line: wherever you go, the network follows. Versus, if you look at some ads that have only one of the two, what happens is, if you only have clarity, that means you're telling me about the product, but you're not making it creative or engaging. It'll be very informational, but you will lose me. And if you're only creative, then I'll remember your ad, but I will not remember what you do. One example of that is some of the initial advertising from CRED, where you had people remembering CRED, but you always on Twitter had this discussion, what does CRED really do, right? Because these were very creative ads, but no one knew why should I download CRED, right? So ideally, when you marry the two, you get good advertising that sticks.
That makes sense. No, absolutely. And earlier you spoke about branding through Instagram, and I wanted to get deeper into advertising just on
Okay.
Instagram. So I understand there are two parts. One is content creation, and the other would be influencer marketing. First, let's get into content creation for the brand itself. As a content creator myself, I know that trends are a big thing on social media. So should new brands follow trends and sell connect their product to the trend, or should they be creating their own content?
I think a mix of the two.
Okay.
So I think my take on trends is, everyone will have this inclination towards jumping onto a trend.
Yeah.
But beyond a point, if that's not funny, and if that's not relatable enough, and if it's a force fit,
Yeah.
then I don't think that's going to engage me anyway, right? So I think you might want to get on to a trend, like the Coldplay concert,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think beyond a point, what happened is so many brands have jumped into it, that it stops being funny.
Yeah.
It starts being a force fit, and I'm just going to scroll past that, right? So if you have something really funny, if you were really doing it early on in that trend, I think then that works.
Yeah.
But I think brands could avoid really forcing it. I think obviously, see, trends will come and go, right?
Yeah.
But I think you do need to still have your own content calendar. You still need to have your own original content that's going to be fun and engaging for someone to really follow a page. So I think I would still feel your original content is the best, because you've created that with a lot of time.
Yeah.
See, when something's trending, there's also this pressure that I really need to put something out right away.
now, yeah.
But when it's your own content, you have the scope to be a little more planned around it. So
Yeah.
I would definitely say growing with your own content is better. Jump onto a trend if you really think you've got something that's engaging or funny.
Absolutely. I think a balance of both is the right way to go. Nowadays, sometimes it's also really easy to get views, but when it comes to brands, it doesn't mean that views will always translate to sales. So when it comes to like creating reels and content, what should they keep in mind to drive sales and not just views?
I think the first thing that people could keep in mind is these are two very different activities with different purposes, right? So let's say if I'm keeping my social media page very active, so
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of a brand, Club Fox, that we're working for. They've got like 300 retail stores across the country.
Yeah.
And we're doing very aggressive content creation for them, and we're doing very aggressive performance marketing for them as well, right?
Yeah.
So when we are doing content creation, when we are managing their social media, our objective is to ensure that the brand reaches more people. You've got more profile visits, you've got more shares,
Yeah.
you've got more saves, and you've got more likes and comments, correct?
Yeah.
I'm going to measure the success of my activity from that lens, not from the lens of sales.
Yeah.
Because if, let's say, I'm able to get a lot of people on their Instagram,
Yeah.
and eventually they do happen to go to the website, that's great. That's an added, and that's what will happen in the long run, right? But in the short run, for them to get sales, I have a lot of campaigns going on Meta, on Google, on Amazon, on Myntra, on Flipkart, and the likes, correct?
Yeah.
So I feel brands need to be a little more clear in that distinction. And eventually, I feel, see, for any brand to grow beyond a point, they'll have to outgrow their performance marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
So that's when all of this effort made on brand, on reels, on awareness will come in handy, but that will happen in the long run.
Yeah.
But you can't really compare this month's activity in terms of content creation versus sales. In the short run, you will have to go to something like your performance marketing campaigns.
Right. I think it's one thing to reach an audience, but it's another to reach a relevant audience that
Correct.
will actually convert into sales.
And I think you will have to reach to a lot of people, and then some will stick around. Correct. So now the thing with Insta algorithms is you keep creating content.
Yeah.
It's going to push you, right? Unless you obviously can promote that piece of content as well. I'm assuming you're letting it fly organically. When you're letting it fly organically, the algo is going to think on your behalf and take it to people that it thinks will be interested, right? So there you don't have a control. So there you will get all kinds of people, and then some will stick who will be a little more relevant. And then you can obviously push that content as well into specific buckets where you feel these people will be more relevant. So I think you will obviously do a mix of the two, but I think you can't bypass the fact that you will get a variety of crowd, and
true.
then not all likes and not all shares and saves will translate to sales.
Right. But you mentioned that what a lot of small businesses often do is they just press on boost post, and I think that might be a big mistake that they're
A
doing.
very big mistake.
So can you highlight that a bit more and make them understand why going to ads manager and targeting an audience is much more effective?
Is much more effective actually. So I don't think we'll find published literature from Meta saying that it restricts the organic reach of content if you really boost it. But there is a common notion that they are also running a business and they have these metrics to track. If you're really posting a piece of content out and the moment it goes out, you're just boosting everything, right? So then it knows that Karan's going to anyway boost it. So why should I even? Rather, I think what you need to do is go to Ads Manager and run different kinds of campaigns. So again, I'm not discouraging anyone to promote their reels from the back end. I think the right way to do it is also to, let's say, from the last week, your best performing reels, let's say you've done like 7 pieces of content in the last week, maybe you can promote a couple of them, but also have other campaigns running. Let's say your story campaign running, correct, for that matter. Then you've got something running as a web traffic campaign. So I think have a variety of campaigns running, but the content that you're putting in so much of effort to create, let that also fly on its own organically. Yes, it's going to take a little more time. Yes, it's going to need a little more patience also, because normally, let's say a brand is starting to do that from today. I think it'll take 3 to 4 months of consistent content creation before they see that initial spark. And in 2025, I think that organic reach is being restricted furthermore, right? Earlier, it used to fly a little earlier, but now it takes at least 3 to 4 months for you to even have that initial spark. So it takes a lot of patience, because every month you're paying people who are creating that content. You obviously have your own overheads and stuff, and you're trying to push them as well. And you might not see results initially. So again, coming back to your question, I think it's advisable for it to at least initially, for it to fly organically. Then pick some pieces that have done well, promote them through the back end, not through the front end, and run a variety of campaigns. That will be better.
I think this will help a lot of people. I was recently studying Zomato social media presence, and I understand that their target audience is people between the age of 18 to 35, which is Gen Z and millennials. So I think the kind of personality that the brand has created is more like a friend that's, they heavily indulge into meme culture, and, it's like fun content, funny content. So that makes me wonder whether small businesses also need to independently create a personality for their brand.
Absolutely. I think that should ideally for digital, at least because you have that scope on digital. To really create that personality, I think the first thing that a brand should do is benchmark against competition as well. Because whatever domain you would be in, there will be, let's say, national players or players who've done well for themselves, right? So I think benchmark yourself against them and build a personality. Now, that could be fun, friendly, amicable, witty, or it could also be, on the other hand, maybe emotional, maybe informative, maybe like a shoulder to rely on, right? So it really depends on what is your product. But it's really important to give yourself keywords. Like one very simple exercise that we do with clients is, if I say Mahatma Gandhi, the initial words that will come to your mind are non-violent, honesty. So the thing is, you at least have keywords associated with that person. Or if I say Sachin Tendulkar, master blaster, great batsman. What should be the keywords that should come into a consumer's mind when they hear the name of your brand? Those are your keywords. Like you said, Zomato, friendly, fun, humor. So those are the keywords that they anyway would have aspired for, and then they've streamlined their entire content to match those keywords. Likewise for your brand, depending on the domain that you serve, it could be amicable, it could be friendly, or it could also be informative. It could be emotional support. It could be a 3 a.m. friend, right? So define them, study your competition, and then create content on those lines. But I think creating content is a non-negotiable, at least in the times that we live in.
But I think once people take the time out to identify what the personality needs to be, then creating content also becomes easy because everything now has to align with that personality.
Absolutely. For fashion brands, I think those keywords would be very different from what they are, let's say, for a Zomato, right? Because then for a fashion brand, you would want elegance and you would want aspiration, right? So, but then you create content on those lines.
It also depends, like if it's a luxury brand, then you go for aspirational, like
correct.
I said. I now want to get into influencer marketing, and for people that are just starting out and they don't really understand this space, I have two questions. The first one being that, is it better to start off just with bigger influencers, or should they have a combination of macro and micro influencers for their campaigns? So first we can address this, and then
I think having a combination works. I'll talk about one of the campaigns that we did, which was an influencer-led campaign, and that by the technical definition of viral went viral. We these days have a lot of content that says, okay, this went viral, but there is a technical definition, right? So this was back during the first wave of COVID. So for a Surat-based brand, what we did was we had a very powerful thought. And we are always grateful to the client for allowing us and giving us the freedom to do something like that. So we had a very powerful thought, and then we had Abhi and New, who were our sort of marquee influencers. So the thought was simple, that during that time there were a lot of question marks. Will the Indian economy ever be able to come back from this? Will we be able to bounce back as a nation? So we said, we named it Janta Army. And the idea was that if you use an Indian product, a product that's manufactured in India, make a video and tag 3 friends of yours. So that chain is going to form a Janta Army that's going to spread awareness and is going to inspire people to buy products that are manufactured in India, so that it helps in the next few months for us as a nation to bounce back. So what happened is we launched it with these Abhi and New as the marquee influencers, and then within 24 hours we had an army of about 250-300 micro influencers who pushed their own individual content, and all of it was approved from the client. So we literally had these 300 different WhatsApp groups where a creator would submit their content, and then there would be changes, then there would be a second draft, and that will be approved, and then these were all on barter model. So you also had certain logistical work to be done, like within a week they should get the product, and you would have influencers say, "Yaar, we've not received it, we'll delete our video," and stuff like that. So then you had to ensure, so you had a team of 5 to 7 people dedicatedly servicing those creators as well, and managing it with different POCs of the client, and to the extent that the director of the company was himself a part of all of these groups. So that is where it became really stretched. But in those 24 hours we had the post going out from the marquee influencers, and then from these army of 250 influencers, and then we saw people organically creating and pushing their content. And then you had your mailbox flooded with emails and stuff like that. So if you really have the budget and if you really have the vision to create something that really sort of breaks the noise and clutter, you need a combination of the two. We're doing this podcast right now. Saiyaara has released, right? And you see crazy reactions in theaters, and I'm sure it's moved Gen Z or whatever the target audience is, but it's tough to really believe everything is organic, right? So for you to really break through that clutter, you will need a combination of a Taran Adarsh also putting out something in support of that movie, and then you have these smaller handles pushing out content. And this is in no way taking away from the fact that it might be a very good movie and some of the reactions will be organic, right? But the kind of clutter breaking and frenzy that it has, it's difficult to believe 100% it is organic.
Absolutely, that makes sense. The second thing that I wanted to understand was that, how do you choose the right influencers? How do you know that this person is right for my brand?
I think so. I think I'll split it into two. So one is at a creative level. You want to marry the content that an influencer or a creator is normally creating with your personality of the brand. So I think that's the first thing that you might want to look at. Because let's say if I'm a very serious creator, and your and the personality of your brand is fun,
Yeah.
then I might not be the perfect match. So the tone, the kind of content, my voice is all going to be a factor, right?
Yeah.
So you want to marry it as much as possible, because otherwise you'll feel, Arey yaar, how does he suddenly start creating fun content, right? It's probably not natural to me.
Yeah.
Second is, you really want to look at real engagement and real followers. So now you have a lot of tools for that. So I think the metric to look at more than followers is on their last 10 reels. How many views have they managed to generate? And
Yeah.
even better if you look at last 20, 25 reels, right?
Yeah.
And to know, okay, what's the organic traction that's really been generated, and what percentage of that is with the followers, right? A normal benchmark that I would use is to multiply that by 0.7.
Yeah.
So assuming your last 20 reels or 10 reels have reached on an average 1 lakh views,
Yeah.
then I would be comfortable doing a 70,000 collaboration with you.
Yeah.
Correct. So that's a benchmark. But for that, you've got tools. So I think two things you really need to marry: your voice with the personality of my brand, and how organic is your
reach.
following and content creation journey.
Yeah, no, I think these are again really good tips, because this will also remind influencers that brands now are really smart and they can identify who has real followers, who
Right.
has fake followers as well. At what stage does a founder start to build a personal brand beyond the company?
I mean, in an ideal world,
Yeah.
I would think it should be as soon as you launch a business.
Oh, really?
Again, I'll give you a few examples on Twitter specifically. There are a lot of these new age founders who have worked on building their personal brand,
Yeah.
and their offering or their product is just a part of it. So I am probably following them for
Yeah.
the kind of content they are creating,
Yeah.
for their views, and they are also plugging their brand in. So in an ideal world, I think the day you decide, the day you launch, there is no harm in starting to create your own personal brand, but that has to be organic. That has to be you. A more balanced answer would be something that an Arindam Paul has done for Attenberg. Again, I think Attenberg fans have been in the market for long, and I think though he was always creating content, but on Twitter now he's taken it to a different level. So again, deep diving into it, his content is not all just fans and appliances, but he's also talking about performance marketing, what's working on Amazon, what's a blueprint for cracking Amazon. He's also creating content on health, on protein and fiber and his intake and his workout and stuff like that. He's also creating content on sport, on cricket. So these are anyway interests of his that will anyway consume him, and that's what he's putting out there as well. So it makes for a very interesting following for me. Likewise, there are a lot of people, some who've started creating content as soon as they've launched a brand. Some who might not even have launched a brand right now, but they've already started creating content because it helps in time to come when they launch their brand, right? I think another example, not someone I would personally be an endorser of all his opinions, but there is this profile called Gabbar on Twitter, has about 1.5 million followers. I think he then leveraged that following for his agency, right? Again, not saying I really endorse what he says, but I think it's a very smart way to do things, right? So I feel for anyone who even in future wants to start a business, building your own brand will never go to waste.
Yeah, no, one of our previous guests also, Mr. Ankur Variku,
Right.
has done this where, he has such a strong personal brand that his books just sell, they become an instant bestseller, their courses are selling. So when you build trust with the audience, automatically they trust your brand.
And in fact, I think building that distribution goes a long way.
Yeah.
Whether it is to get more speaking or collaboration assignments, whether it is a brand that you're building, I think we're living in a world where along with a normal currency, your digital currency takes you a long way.
Yeah.
So I feel that's something that will never go to waste.
We've explored how Instagram works, but now I want to get into WhatsApp, which is something that people are not really aware of, but I think it's really effective because it's possibly the app that all of us use the most. So can you make the audience understand how WhatsApp marketing can be really effective?
Right. So I think about 3 years back, we felt WhatsApp was definitely going to be the next frontier in digital. So we built a product called Caterpillar.
Yeah.
And the idea back then was, we had like, I think 3 years back, about 30 brands with us. So we thought we'll build something for these brands, because clients would always come back to us saying, और क्या करेंगे आप, what something new that we can explore together. And we felt, okay, you know what, for most of these e-com performance marketing kind of players, WhatsApp will definitely be that last thing that we could do, that last gap between the brand and the customer. So we built that. Now suddenly in the last 3 years, WhatsApp in itself has become so big, and just not that, Meta has been so proactive with new features and new inclusions, that Caterpillar has become a different business vertical for us, independently serving customers that the agency also might not have, right? So I'll give you an example of the Chennai Metro Rail. They have a WhatsApp. I think a lot of other government logistics transportation players do have that. But here what you can do is you go to them on WhatsApp, you send a hi to their number. So you will have a chatbot that will reply to you. From that chatbot, if you want to book tickets, you click on a link, it'll open within the WhatsApp interface. You can decide the destination you want to start from and the destination you want to end. Right? So you have lived in Andheri, so let's say DN Nagar, let's say Sakinaka to DN Nagar. You can do that on WhatsApp. You can select the number of passengers and you say okay.
Yeah.
And you can make payment through WhatsApp or through any other provider as well. So that entire experience of booking a ticket can happen on WhatsApp. And this is just one use case. The kind of features WhatsApp as a product has, they range from reaching out to your warm leads. You can the other person doesn't have to necessarily save your number. If you just broadcast through a normal WhatsApp, then if you've not saved my number, you will not get my message. So right from reaching out to these warm leads to having catalogs that showcase your products, to having chatbots that could cut down your support costs by, I think, 50%. Like we've had clients in the education space, 5 years back, they really had to get in touch with a call center to nurture some of these conversations and leads, which now has been cut down by 50% because a lot of that happens on WhatsApp. So these chatbots could actually directly cut down on that. Then obviously you could accept payments. It'll act like your own app because it has everything. It'll talk to you, it'll have your products, it'll accept payments, it'll nurture warm leads. So for different businesses, you have different focus points. So like this example is a more ticketing example. For a more traditional, let's say a jeweler or a traditional retailer, I think the best use case is, sending invoices through WhatsApp and then, communicating new offers to them. For an e-commerce platform, from that journey from add to cart to checkout, you link it with Shopify and then you can automate, you can give different discounts. If let's say a customer has been ghosting you after adding something to the cart, you can really improve those conversions. So depending on the nature of business, you have so many beautiful use cases. And you rightly mentioned, more than Instagram, more than Facebook, more than YouTube, this is one tool that really everyone uses, whether you're in Mumbai or you're in a small town somewhere near Kolkata. Everyone uses WhatsApp, at least in India. So it has tremendous penetration. So for any kind of business, an online first business, a retail business, any kind of business has a lot of benefits through WhatsApp.
Absolutely. And I think it's somewhere still not, people have still not understood the potential of what WhatsApp can do. And I can imagine how it's very comfortable for the customers also, and it's very cost effective for the, the sellers as well. Something that really freaks out a lot of us actually is that when we are having conversations with our friends about, let's plan a Goa trip or something, and suddenly we open our phone and we see, ad for Goa. So, how does this happen? How does hyper personalization of ads happen? And how can small businesses also tap into this and use it for their advantage?
So, I mean, technically your phone can listen to you, but what's at play is predictive targeting. So what happens is, Meta is able to capture so much of your data. It knows just not your likes and dislikes, but your affiliations as well.
Yeah.
So right now it knows that you live in Mumbai, that you create content, your affiliation towards, let's say for instance, sports shoes, because
Yeah.
you've been interacting the data to the extent where did you stop a little while you were scrolling. Even that gets captured. So now you don't even need to like a post.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you just look at your scrolling habits, you might realize that without interacting with a post, if you stop that certain types of content, it'll throw up more of that. So what's happening is, one, they have that. Second, these targeting options are very sophisticated, right? So you can really, let's say, if again continuing from that sports shoes example,
Yeah.
let's say I want to target people like you. I know that the weather on Saturday and Sunday is going to be good. I know Karan has been stopping around content of shoes, right? I can now show you ads on a weekend. That will make you feel, you know what? Am I being heard? But the word is really predictive targeting.
Right.
So I'm using your insights. I'm using your scrolling and affiliation patterns, and I'm merging that with a little bit of a prediction.
Yeah.
So now suddenly you feel you being constantly observed, but it's actually this at play. So for smaller players also, I think, and see, this is where an agency can come in, because
Yeah.
these targeting options are so sophisticated. I'm sure you would know that you have a price difference between Android and iOS users, right?
Yeah.
So you might, if you check out tickets from your iPhone versus from an Android phone, there is a chance if the other person is running those kinds of ads, you might see a price difference as well. So you have so many sophisticated targeting options that you really need an expert to run these campaigns for you. That might be a little more that
Costly.
might add your upfront cost, but your return on ad spend will improve.
Absolutely.
So this is actually what happens in the back end.
No, this makes a lot of sense, and this can be a great way to reach the customer first. But when we are, from a brand perspective, when you're trying to create long-term loyalty with the customer, how do you use things like remarketing to get a long-term customer for yourself?
So I think again it'll depend on the nature of the business, but for instance, let's say it's an online first brand where the point of sale is going to be online, right?
Yeah.
Now for that, I have so much data. Let's say if you buy from my website once, okay, then naturally the one very simple thing I'll be able to do is show you more of my products. Or if you've added something to cart and not yet checked out, I will be able to give you discount on that very product. So that's a very basic thing that you can do. But again, with integration of WhatsApp, I can really send you messages and communication that will seem very personalized to you. Correct. So what happens is, it now becomes like a brand is talking to me on things that probably are on my mind or will motivate me to act. So I can now suddenly, if you've added something to cart and not checked out yet, I can give you a discount. If you've bought something, I can send messages of products that will be similar to your area of interest, because now I also know what you're browsing.
Yeah.
So I have all your data. But I still feel eventual loyalty will come from that product experience. See, you cannot bypass that. All of this is going to add to it, right?
Yeah.
But you buy a t-shirt from my brand, from my website, and if it's not delivered on time, if the color is off, if maybe you're not happy with the material as was promised, no matter how much of targeting I do on WhatsApp, on Insta,
the product is not good, it's not going to work.
And that's why, again, I feel like in all of this advertising and marketing clutter, the first question that a brand owner needs to ask himself or herself is my product the best on earth? If Karan is buying a t-shirt from me, is he buying the best t-shirt available to him on this earth? If no, what can I do to make it so? If you've cracked that, then all of these are going to be crutches that will really help you fly. But if you not crack that, then all of these are going to be marketing spends and burns.
Yeah. Even if you're not the best, at least have a strong differentiation.
And that's the whole thing. See, if you ask that to yourself, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be able to sell you the best t-shirt you can buy on earth, right?
Yeah.
But if I have that mindset, then at least I'm going to ensure my material is good. At least I'm going to ensure my customer support is good.
Yeah.
At least you're getting it on time. So I feel when you ask that question, the intent more than creating best on earth is to at least have that mindset.
Yeah.
And that is going to give me your loyalty in the long run.
Also, is there a way to access the behavior of your competitors' customers?
So there is a way to target them. There is a way to know what it is that they are doing. There is a way to analyze that as well. So for one of the brands, we have one designer who is only constantly analyzing competitor ads and is replicating them.
Okay.
If you dig deeper, you can get into the psyche of their customers. Because obviously with the ads library, you get all the data.
Yeah.
What is it that they are running? And when you see a pattern there, why are they doing more ads with so-and-so communication? You get to know, okay, this might be the potential psyche.
Yeah.
And then we've got one designer who is only creating like, I think 250, 300 ads a month just for pure performance marketing, right? But all of these are basis observation of the competitor. Also, I think one little tedious exercise that one of the educational clients of ours did was they created this Excel where they had 50 parameters. So they had parameters like the fees, the international exposure, the faculty, and they put out 15 of their competitors. And they created this in-depth Excel and they highlighted in yellow areas where they were really good. Now that happened with actual research. So you had students fill out fake forms and sort of do those calls and to understand data from them. So this is a little tedious, but what that Excel did was, if this might be a little technical, but I'll still tell you. So on Google, let's say if I want 100 admissions through my Google campaigns, let's say I need 1,000 leads for that, right? Now, if the search volume on very basic content is not going to be sufficient to give me 1,000 leads, what do? I run ads on competitor keywords. So if someone is going to search faculty of XYZ, my ad is going to pop up saying my faculty is better. So that's how you get leads on keyword volumes that do not conventionally exist for you, right?
Makes sense.
So you could do a little bit of this as well. This becomes a little tedious. But I think it's a worthwhile exercise.
Yeah. I can imagine. Earlier we spoke about how ads have to be clear and creative. But the creative aspect, especially for an Indian audience, involves emotions. Can you help the audience understand how brands are using and targeting different emotions through different ads? For example, like from the top of my head, I can think of how insurance ads often target fear. So would you have any such examples of like well executed ads?
Right. So I think if you're talking about fear, FOMO is one thing that a lot of e-commerce players do, right? It's very common for them. See, how does fear work? How do I make Karan take an action right now? Your end of season sales and big billion days and all of that. It's basically a combination of two things. One is I tell you, here is something exclusive. And second is I say this is limited. When I marry, let's say for fear specifically, when I say exclusive and urgent, that will make you take an action, right? So that's what fear would do. And I think very common examples would be now that we get into that period, Raksha Bandhan, Independence Day, Diwali, that time of the year. You will see all of these players come up with such advertising, right? Because they also want to maximize on these times, right? So I think fear is one, and I think you will see it pretty commonly done by aggregator platforms. I think the other emotions will also include, I think love is an emotion that a lot of jewelry brands, a lot of traditional players in fashion,
Cadbury, I'd imagine.
Cadbury as well. So I think love is something that you can So you will also have to decide your macro emotion as a brand, right? Like how we talked about personality. What conventionally is the emotion that you're looking at?
Like on Raksha Bandhan, maybe you're attaching the emotions of a sibling relationship to your brand.
Absolutely. Likewise, one macro emotion could be dreams. And you could have brands that would talk about how this product will help you fulfill a certain dream, right? So you will have to identify that, whether you are going down the lines of fear, and fear literally, or fear of missing out, both of them. Or you're talking about an aspiration, you're talking about dreams, you're talking about love, you're talking about friendships. And I think, since India is a very emotion driven country, you will need one of these. You will need one of these to really connect with me at a deeper level. And the challenge of advertising is that you will have to do this in 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, while you will also have to explain the why. Why is it that I really should buy from you? But one thing that you will notice is, brands, let's say a Tanishq, over several years they might have established a why. So then you will see their ads just base themselves on these macro emotions. Or let's say, during Diwali, you will have a Cadbury celebrations ads. You know the taste of dairy milk by now, right? So I don't need to give you a why anymore. But now I need to do a campaign around love, around celebration, around festivities, and connect with you at a deeper level.
Makes sense. Yeah. Absolutely. These are really interesting. And, when you think of it, it doesn't hit you that you're just like, your brain just reacts to, oh, now I have to take action.
Correct.
You're not really analyzing, but this is very interesting. The last question that I have for you is that, for a small business that's just starting out and doesn't right now have the funds to hire an agency, are there any AI tools that they can use, or how can they effectively use AI to create digital marketing strategies?
I think there are a lot of AI tools, and I think in time to come, I don't think it'll be wrong to say that a lot of what an advertising agency does now will get reimagined. I would not use the word replaced, but reimagined. And I think that's how technology has anyway behaved, through the history of mankind, right? I mean, the moment you had computers, in fact, I think if you just look at it in a little broader manner, when you had first sound introduced to cinema, you had Charlie Chaplin say this might just result in death of visual communication. Or when you had a splash of color. So all of these are very historic changes, and that will mean an advertiser will have to reimagine his or her role in that journey of advertising a brand. Right now also, I think, you've got, I'll give you an example actually. So we have a surgeon who is out of time, so because he's always occupied with surgeries, right? So we shot him on one Sunday, and we shot him for about 4 to 5 hours, and now an AI clone of his is doing content creation. And because these videos are heavily edited, that's by a human editor, you can't really tell the difference. And there are a lot of creators on Instagram who are not actually spending time on creating content, but they are using their clones. So obviously you've got a Chat GPT with its ability to write content, create images. You've got 11 labs that can do some of this. I think you've got a ton of different tools, whether it's music, whether it's videos, whether it's Mid-Journey. So you've got a combination of these tools. And I think, according to one of the statements of Mark Zuckerberg, these platforms in time to come, Facebook, Instagram, and the likes, will be able to tell you what kind of ads you need to create for best results. So that's going to be the death of a graphic designer creating performance marketing ads. Because now if Instagram is telling you run this, and I'm sure a tool that is going to be connected, or Insta is going to have their own tool, Meta AI, is going to create that for you. You don't need someone to create that ad, right? So the role will have to be reimagined as a consultant, as someone, because whenever that cost of execution goes down, the cost of thought will go up. So now what is important is for me to tell you, listen, you can run these 5 campaigns. This is your budget. Let's do this. Let Meta AI anyway create that. Let Meta AI also tell me where I should run it. But let me click that button for you.
No, absolutely. And I think AI is drastically changing everything. But thank you so much for being on the show and sharing such amazing insights. I've learned a lot. I'm sure my audience has learned a lot. Would you have any parting words?
I think, first of all, big thank you for having me here. I've also really enjoyed this conversation. I think only parting words for a brand will be that whenever they are trying to craft a marketing strategy, I think it has to be comprehensive enough that it starts with the product and then you go through all the phases that involve branding, acquisition, retention, and referrals. And for advertising agencies as well, because there is a tendency to bypass a lot of that and just look at the next retainer coming in. But I think the right way to do this is to spend time and do it in a more comprehensive manner. So I think if that could be a takeaway for some, I think that'll be great.
To our audience, thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, share this with your friends and family, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you very soon in another episode. Lots of love. Bye.